commandeth to seek peace. The observers of this law may be called sociable. The Latins called him commodi, the contrary, stubborn, insociable. Stubborn, insociable, froward, intractable. A sixth law of nature is that upon caution of the future time, a man ought to pardon the offenses past to them that repent and desire it. For pardon is nothing but a granting of peace, which though granted to them that persevere in their hostility, be not peace, but fear, yet not granted to them that give caution of the future time is sign of an aversion to peace, and therefore contrary to the law of nature. The sixth, facility to pardon. The seventh law of nature, that in revenges men respect only the future good. Eighth, against contumely. The ninth, against pride. The 10th, against arrogance. The 11th, equity. The 12th, equal use of things common. 13th, of lot. 14th, of primogenitor and first seizing. The 15th, of mediators. The 16th, of submission to arbitrament. 17th, no man is his own judge. The 18th, no man to be judged that has in him a natural cause of partiality. And the 19th, of witnesses. And the 19th, of witnesses. The seventh is that in revenges, that is retribution of evil for evil, men look not at the greatness of the evil past, but the greatness of the good to follow, whereby we are forbidden to inflict punishment with any other design than for correction of the offender or direction of others. For this law is consequent to the next before it, that commandeth pardon upon security of the future time. Besides, revenge without respect to the example and profit to come is a triumph or glory in the hurt of another, tending to no end, for the end is always somewhat to come, and glorying to no end is vainglory and contrary to reason, and to hurt without reason tendeth to the introduction of war, which is against the law of nature, and is commonly styled by the name of cruelty. And because all signs of hatred or contempt provoke to fight, insomuch as most men choose rather to hazard their life than not to be revenged, we may in the eighth place for a law of nature set down this precept, that no man by deed, word, or countenance or gesture declare hatred or contempt of another, the breach of which law is commonly called contumely. The question, who is the better man, has no place in the condition of mere nature, where, as has been shown before, all men are equal. The inequality that now has been introduced by the law of civil. I know that Aristotle, in the first book of his Politics, chapter 3 to 7, for a foundation of his doctrine, maketh men by nature some more worthy to command, meaning the wiser sort, such as he thought himself to be for his philosophy, others to serve, meaning those that had strong bodies but were not philosophers, as he, as if master and servant were not introduced by consent of men, but by difference of wit, which is not only against reason, but also against experience, for there are very few so foolish that had not rather governed themselves than be governed by others. Nor when the wise in their own conceit contend by force with them who distrust their own wisdom, do they always or often or almost at any time get the victory. If nature therefore have made men equal, that equality is to be acknowledged, or if nature have made men unequal, yet because men that think themselves equal will not enter into conditions of peace but upon equal terms, such equality must be admitted. And therefore for the ninth law of nature I put this, that every man acknowledge other, for he is equal by nature. The breach of this precept is pride. On this law dependeth another, that at the entrance into conditions of peace no man required to reserve to himself any right which he is not contempt should be reserved to every one of the rest, as it is necessary for all men that seek peace to lay down certain rights of nature, that is to say, not to have liberty to do all they list. So is it necessary for man's life to retain some as right to govern their own bodies, right to enjoy air, water, motion, ways to go from place to place, and all things else, without which a man cannot live or not live well. If in this case at the making of peace men require for themselves that which they would not have to be granted to others, they do contrary to the precedent law that commandeth the acknowledgement of natural equality, and therefore also against the law of nature. The observers of this law are those we call modest, and the breakers arrogant men. The Greeks call the violation of this law pleonexia, that is, a desire of more than their share. Also, if a man be trusted to judge between man and man, it is a precept of the law of nature that he deal equally between them. For without that, the controversies of men cannot be determined, but by war. He, therefore, that is partial in judgment, doth what in him lies to deter men from the use of judges and arbitrators, and consequently against the fundamental law of nature as the cause of war. The observance of this law from the equal distribution to each man of that which in reason belongeth to him is called equity, and as I've said before, distributive justice. The violation is called exception of persons, prosopolepsia. Distributive. And from this falleth another law, that such things as can not be divided be enjoyed in common, if it can be, and if the quantity of the thing permit, without stint, otherwise proportionably to the number of them that have right, for otherwise the distribution is unequal and contrary to equity. But some things there can be that can neither be divided nor enjoyed in common. Then the law of nature, which prescribeth equity, requireth that the entire right, or else making the use alternate, the first possession, be determined by lot. For equal distribution is of the law of nature, and other means of equal distribution cannot be imagined. 27 of lots. There be two sorts, arbitrary and natural. The 14th of primogeniture and first seizing. Arbitrary and natural. So there's arbitrary lots and natural lots. Arbitrary is that which is agreed on by the competitors. Natural is either primogeniture, which the Greek call kleronomia, which signifies given by lot or first seizure. And therefore those things which cannot be enjoyed in common nor divided ought to be adjudged to the first possessor, and in some cases to the firstborn, as acquired by lot. It is also a law of nature that all men that mediate peace be allowed safe conduct, for the law that commandeth peace as the end commandeth intercession as the means, and to intercession the means is safe conduct. 15th law of mediators. 16th of submission to arbitrator. And because though men be never so willing to observe these laws, there may nevertheless arise questions concerning a man's action. First, whether it were done or not done. Secondly, if done, whether against the law or not against the law. The former whereof is called a question of fact, the latter a question of right. Therefore, unless the parties to the question covenant mutually to stand to the sentence of another, they are as far from peace as ever. This other to whose sentence they submit is called an arbitrator, and therefore it is of the law of nature that they are at controversy submit their right to the judgment of an arbitrator. And seeing every man is presumed to do all things in order to his own benefit, no man is a fit arbitrator in his own cause, and if he were never so fit, yet equity allowing to each party equal benefit, if one be admitted to judge, the other is to be admitted also. And so the controversy, that is, the cause of war, remains against the law of nature. The 17th, no man is his own judge. For the same reason, no man in any cause ought to be received for arbitrator, to whom greater profit or honor or pleasure apparently ariseth out of the victory of one party than of the other. For he hath taken, though an unavoidable bribe, yet a bribe, and no man can be obliged to trust him, and thus also the controversy and the condition of war remaineth contrary to the law of nature. And in a controversy of fact, the judge being to give no more credit to one litigant than to the other, if there be no other arguments, must give credit to a third, a non-litigant witness, or to a third and fourth or more, for else the question is undecided and left to force contrary to the law of nature. These are the laws of nature, dictating peace for a means of the conservation of men in multitudes, which only concern the doctrine of civil society. There be other things tending to the destruction of particular men, as drunkenness and all other parts of intemperance, which may therefore also be reckoned amongst those things which the law of nature hath forbidden, but are not necessary to be mentioned, nor are pertinent enough to this place. The laws of nature are immutable and eternal, for injustice, ingratitude, arrogance, pride, iniquity, exception of persons, and the rest can never be made lawful, for it can never be that war shall preserve life and peace destroy it. The same laws, because they oblige only to a desired endeavor, an unfeigned and constant endeavor, are easy to be observed, for in that they require nothing but endeavor. He that endeavoureth their performance fulfilleth them, and he that fulfilleth the law is just. And the science of them, the laws of nature, is the true and only moral philosophy, for moral philosophy is nothing else but the science of what is good and evil. In the conversation and society of mankind, good and evil are names that signify our appetites and aversions, which in different tempers, customs, and doctrines of men are different, and divers men differ not only in their judgment on the senses of what is pleasant and unpleasant to the taste, smell, hearing, touch, and sight, but also of what is comfortable, as what is conformable or disagreeable to reason in the actions of common life. Nay, the same man in divers times differs from himself. In one time praiseth, that is called good, that is calleth good, what another time he dispraiseth and calleth evil. From whence arises disputes, controversies, and at last war. And therefore, so long a man is in the condition of mere nature, which is a condition of war, as private appetite is the measure of good and evil, and consequently all men agree on this, that peace is good, and therefore also the way or means of peace, which, as I have shown before, are justice, gratitude, modesty, equity, and mercy. And the rest of the laws of nature are good, that is to say, moral virtues, and their contrary vices, evil. Now the science of virtue and vice is moral philosophy, and therefore the true doctrine of the laws of nature is the true moral philosophy. But the writers of moral philosophy, though they acknowledge the same virtues and vices, yet not seeing wherein consisted their goodness, nor that they come to be praised as the means of peaceable, sociable, and comfortable living, place them in a mediocrity of passions, as if not the cause but the degree of daring made fortitude, or not the cause but the quantity of a gift made liberality. These dictates of reason men used to call by the name of laws, but improperly, for they are but conclusions or theorems concerning what conduceth to the conservation and defense of themselves, whereas law properly is the word of him that by right hath command over others. But yet if we consider the same theorems as delivered in the word of God, that by right commandeth all things, then are they properly called laws. Chapter 16, a person, authors, and things personated. So there you go. There's a whole bunch of natural laws. Primogenitor, first seizing, mediators, arbitration. No man is his own judge. No man is to be judged that has in him a natural cause of partiality. Witnesses, give credit to each litigant, equal credit, and then give the credit to the witness. Equity. If a man is to be trusted to judge between man and man, he must deal equally between them. Equal use of things common. The 10th is against arrogance. Against pride is the 9th. The 8th is against contumely. The 7th, that in revenges men respect only the future good. The 6th, facility to pardon. And then you have 5 more before 6, right? Gratitude is the 4th, and complacence is the 5th. And then the 3rd, what's the 3rd? Covenants. Justice and covenants. Right? Justice, yep. That men perform their covenants made. The first law is the right to self-defense and the right for the nation to defend themselves. The second law is a social contract. A social contract with the Leviathan. So the people have a right to a social contract with their government. He says the commonwealth, but the nation state, whether it's a democratic republic or a monarch. Hobbes is also a damn conservative. He's like, not my King Charles I, William and Mary, those piece of shit Protestant sons of bitches. They can't do better than old King Charles I, William and Mary. They're giving you rights and freedoms. Well, I can't do that. I cannot give the people rights and freedoms. No, I'm a tyrant. I'm an authoritarian tyrant. People don't have rights and freedoms. There's no Bill of Rights in the Constitution of Colorado nor America. Nor do they protect the natural rights. I'm a tyrant. Not King Charles. Not the Catholic King Charles. Oh, poor Charles. When they cut his head off, it was nice, clean cut. Whoosh. Nice, clean cut. Just little loppy. Little loppy. Lopper. They chopped off King Charles I's head. They got themselves a Bill of Rights. And then England just kind of kept on kicking ass and taking names. First one is self-defense. You endeavor peace until war. Second is a social contract with the Leviathan. Because in the state of nature, yeah, people are wild and savages, but man is nature. So in the state of nature, this is to counter the divine right of kings. Oh, God told you to rule over me? Yeah, fuck you, you piece of shit. You know, God told me that we have the ability to reason. We got the ability to think and reason for ourselves. And since we could think and reason for ourselves, then we can figure out what we like and what we don't like. What are the natural laws and what aren't the natural laws? So he makes a huge jump. He starts out with, okay, we have a right to defend ourselves and the nation has a right to defend themselves. And then when we use our reason, well, you know, we need a Leviathan, a big nation state, to make sure they protect all of our rights and freedoms, because we need one big, strong government that can coerce everybody else who makes contracts to make sure they abide by their covenants made. Therefore, before the names of just and unjust can have place, there must be some coercive power to compel men equally to the performance of their covenants by the terror of some punishment greater than the benefit they expect by the breach of their covenant. I remember this one guy in 8th grade. We just made a bet. It was like a $1 bet. And we shook on it, but I felt like he still wasn't going to pay up. I would have paid up, right? Because I'm the honest person. He went ahead. He lost. And then when I showed him the contract, he went ahead and just destroyed the damn thing.